Hey everyone, Tony D with another hot take. Hopefully this isn't too sad for some of you, but we're going to talk about the coronavirus a little more. South Jersey is being hit. I guess you can call this a Piney Power podcast, but I don't have too much information specifically on South Jersey, other than we've got two more cases in the New Jersey state region. So we're up to 6 cases. The big news is Italy has quarantined 16 million people in various provinces. And why am I saying this wrong? Provinces. There we go. In Italy. So, Italy's got the virus pretty bad. I think you could look forward to that here at some point. Now, it's probably not going to be the hard quarantine the Italians have done. Oh, there goes Joan. Joan didn't want to say hi. Sorry. You could expect a later quarantine here. Probably, we already have 800 people in the state, by the way, who are on voluntary quarantine. They either had contact with someone who's been diagnosed with coronavirus, or they, came from Italy or whatever. I read one account of a woman online who said she arrived, I believe she was a writer for Vice. She arrived back from Italy, left from one of the provinces that definitely is the epicenter of the virus there, and they didn't check her. She walked right off the plane, walked right to her baggage and car, and no one ever stopped her. No one ever asked her a question. So, look, the reality is this virus, again, you could have it and not show any symptoms for 1 to almost a month. 1 week to almost a month. 1 to 4 weeks. They're figuring on 2 weeks, but there's been plenty of cases I've read about. People developed it in the 3rd week or into the 4th week. So you're talking like you'd have to quarantine people for a month to make sure they didn't have this virus. And they're just not doing that. Part of it is probably from a practical standpoint. I don't think, anyone's health insurance is going to cover a month in quarantine, quite frankly. Number 2, at this point, I think most of the people in power understand that they've already been told this is going to be a pandemic. Everybody's going to get it. 40 to 70% of the population or more is going to get the virus. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to die or even be hospitalized, but it's going to cause a disruption. Again, it's all about the disruption. So in Italy, the disruption is magnified by many tiers, thanks to now the hard quarantine between provinces. So they've actually got checkpoints set up where cops are like, no, turn around, or, in Italian they would say that. So, that's why you needed to stock up. Now, you still have some time to stock up, but now it's starting to get more dicey. There has been runs on stores in North Jersey, not so much in South Jersey, so I think you're still pretty much okay, although I suspect that this weekend a lot of people went out and bought stuff, so I imagine the stores are running out of certain things, or are running low on it, certainly. Don't go crazy, just get, some extra supplies in case you're going to be locked in. We'll go through it real quick. I've done it in other videos, but real quick, you're going to want your sick stuff. You're going to want your medicine that you normally take when you have the flu. Get enough of it so you don't have to go back to the store. This isn't going to be like you had the flu and you're the only one in your neighborhood with the flu and you go to CVS whenever you want. You have to assume you can't get to CVS because it's a pain in the ass, or CVS is closed, or whatever. So you want enough probably for 2 weeks to a month on medicine. That's going to be tough because, I buy like Mucinex and they card you for that because people make meth out of it and they don't want a lot of people stockpiling it. So generally they give you the they give you the eye if you buy more than one packet of the stuff. I've been buying it over the course of a couple of weeks, so I have enough probably for probably a month. I bought, I don't know why, but I kind of panic bought and bought. I bought one kind of Mucinex and then another kind, and I bought the liquid kind. I thought that would last longer or something, but I don't know why I did that. But I have at least a month. Same thing for the food. You want your sick food. I've got my soups. I've got some juice. Juice you can't keep that long, but I've got fruit. Fruit you can keep a little longer. What else did I get? I tried to get some healthy snacks and just generally stock up. But, I don't have anything yet. I'm not stuck here yet, and I still have to eat. So I'm trying to eat regular food, but, at some point I'm going to run out of my regular food. And then the question is, do I dip into the supplies, or do I try to last, or do I make a run for just regular food? Because every run is a chance of getting infected, right? At this point, to try to avoid infection, I'm going to try to stick to foods that have generally are in something. So in a can, or they're sealed, that they've been processed somewhere else before they got to the store. So all I have to do is clean off the package, and I should be good to go. So that limits some of the things I normally eat. I'll probably have to switch over to tuna fish sandwiches for a while, but I don't mind. I like tuna. And, other things like that. So, you don't have to be as extreme as me, but, if you want to, there you go. You have to think about these things. Same thing with the fruit, right? You want to go get fruit that's already in bags and boxes or whatever, and clean that off, and then throw out the bag and box, and get at the fruit, and then wash the fruit. You wash the fruit anyway, so it's not really a problem. Something like bananas isn't a problem. It's outside of that covering that you got to worry about. Did someone with the coronavirus handle this fruit? That's what you got to ask yourself. At this point, I think anything you bought up until probably, a week ago, is probably okay. It's probably like last week and moving forward, we're starting to get to the point where, somebody who has the coronavirus, we probably have dozens of people walking around New Jersey who have the coronavirus, don't know it yet. So, try to take the precautions you can. Wash your hands, wash the doorknobs and whatnot. Try to stay in. Do not get takeout food. Takeout food is now an unacceptable risk if you don't want to get sick, because you're talking about all the people who touch the food. You're talking about the people who touch the packaging. You're talking about moving it through the restaurant or whatever. Quite frankly, if you're getting takeout food at work from like Arby's or something, you were already taking a chance. So, just pack your lunch if you got to go to work. Limit your connections. Limit your interactions with people as much as you can. Keep your space nice and clean. Wipe it down. You got to assume that the cleaning crew that comes in, they're not in hazmat suits. They're just janitors emptying out the waste paper basket or whatever, and they're probably touching your stuff. So just wipe everything down when you come in the morning, and hunker down in your cubicle until the day is over, and then shuffle off home and go back into your little cave. That's what I'm trying to do. So, although tomorrow is my birthday, and I will be home, and to celebrate my birthday, normally we eat sushi and read comics. So I will forgive you if you cannot celebrate my birthday, because obviously sushi is a big risk now. I'm skipping it until things die down. But there's no excuse not to read comics. At the webcomicfactory.com, you can read all the comics you want. Anyhow, getting back to the virus. One of the New Jersey people was at CPAC where Trump was. So he had this New Jersey person has been diagnosed with corona. It's likely he's transmitted it to a few people at CPAC. Hopefully not Trump. However, it's likely that a bunch of people at CPAC who went to CPAC are now infected. They're home. They're infecting people. And one or two of them probably is in Washington infecting everybody there. It's going to hit Washington. It's going to hit Congress and, the Trump family. Um, I have a pretty high confidence that Trump will be fine, simply because the guy seems pretty healthy despite not really taking care of himself. But you never know. Um, However, there are plenty of congressmen who are more like Bernie Sanders. They're close to being elderly. Sanders, I think, is the biggest risk. He just had a heart attack not too long ago. His resistance is probably down. I think that would count as a compromised immune system, at least to a small degree. So I think he's probably the most vulnerable. There's probably a handful of congressmen are. And it's possible, we could lose one or two congressmen, maybe up to 4 or 5, which would not be good. Not be good. This is going to spread, so don't freak out, but take sensible precautions. I hope people didn't get too upset by my last video. There's no reason to be upset if you are elderly, if you're I'm only a little worried because I'm 54 tomorrow, and that is close to the age where things start to get a little dicey. Once you hit 60, it starts to get a little dicey for these kinds of things. I'm still in a higher risk category than, say, people in their 40s. 40s are like the cutoff. That's when things start to creep up for your risk factor in this. But again, the risk factors are still very, very low. Even if you're at high risk for this is like, 3 or 4%. So, you just want to take the precautions you can. Try not to get sick as right away. If you do get sick in the next couple of weeks, now is probably the time to go right to the hospital before it gets jammed up with people. You may be quarantined. Don't be afraid. It's not going to be that big a deal. It's going to be boring. You can watch TV or whatever. You're not going to feel well. But, there may come a time, probably towards the end of March, and one model has us at maybe by the end of May. I think for New Jersey, it'll be probably sometime in early April, that hospital beds will become a premium, meaning that we'll just basically be out of them or running out of them. At that point, they're going to try to slow the rate of people coming in with coronavirus, because at that point, most likely, the entire region will have it. And they're just going to have to let it burn out. And it's going to be like, well, you may have coronavirus, but just go home and take care of it. And if you're super severe, then come in. What that's going to be. I mean, everybody feels like crap and doesn't make great decisions when they have the flu, but you just got to try to do the best you can. You got to take medicine, take ibuprofen, keep your fever down. Try to relax, get lots of sleep, drink your juices, keep hydrated, and you may have to prop yourself up with pillows because it's probably going to be in your lungs, and that kind of thing. If you're older, if you're over the age of 70, you probably want to go right to the hospital. No question. They're going to give you priority anyway. If you're younger than that, then it starts to, you got to start making decisions. If you're in your 60s, maybe you go. More often than not, you're probably going to go. Unless you're feeling relatively okay. If you just got a cough and you think you can ride it out, maybe you don't. I mean, depends on who you are. Depends on if you have a fever. That's the key thing. You got to monitor whether or not you have a fever. That's going to be the real indicator of whether or not you have a cough or whether or not you have potentially the coronavirus. So, once you get, under 60, then you got to try to tough it out. Once you get under 40, especially under 30, you should try to tough it out unless you're ready to die. And you know what I mean by that. You got to be like, you are like 103 fever and you can't function and you're just coughing, you can barely breathe. At that point, you go to the hospital. I mean, if you got like 100 fever and you feel kind of foggy, but you don't feel great, but you're not really bad, then maybe you tough it out. I mean, it's up to you. Once we get to the point where we're running out of hospital beds, that's when it's going to be, a call on your point. And keep in mind, too, that People in the hospital are going to get sick. They've already ordered the EMTs in New York to stop answering calls for coronavirus. Not the EMTs, the firefighters, because they're trying to keep the firefighters from getting sick in case there's a fire. So, people are trying to take precautions as best they can. You got to prioritize things. We got to keep our firemen healthy. Absolutely. I mean, we don't want a fire in the middle of all this and have all our firemen sick. We're going to need them to fight the fire. To some extent, the cops, similarly, if things get out of hand, we want to make sure at least some of the cops are not sick. So, in case, there was a case in Australia where they were fighting over toilet paper. Now, that's just ridiculous. You shouldn't be fighting over toilet paper. But, you also shouldn't be buying out the store for toilet paper yet. We're not at that point. And we're in America where toilet paper is pretty much plentiful. So I don't see us running out of things too much. There's probably going to be a panic. People are going to run on the stores. But eventually the stores will get stocked up again. Just try to get your basics. Try to get your medicine. Try to get your food. And then beyond the sick stuff, get some stuff that can last you a few months. Get a bag of rice. Get some mac and cheese. Get things in a can. And just hold on to it and try to eat your regular food until you're cooped up. And at that point, I think the state of New Jersey will declare a state of emergency, and they will say no more unnecessary travel. They will encourage businesses to close. They won't force them to close. They'll encourage them. A lot of businesses will probably take advantage of that. They'll say, okay, we'll close because this way we don't have to pay our employees or a bunch of them, and plus everybody's sick anyway, and so that's probably going to happen. So if you got any major purchases on the horizon, you might want to put them off as well, so you have enough money to pay your bills over the next couple of months. I don't think they'll close down the state more than a few weeks, probably by the end of the 2-week period where it gets really bad. Probably we're looking at, I give it another week before we have a few hundred cases in New Jersey. Because remember, it's exponential. You just got to remember, you have coronavirus for 2 weeks before you're diagnosed. And the CDC asks, how many people have you met in the last 14 days? I mean, just think about that. It's a staggering number. Unless you've been like me, cooped up in the house, you've probably met dozens of people, if not hundreds. If you went to the movies, if you took a train or a bus, your family. If you get diagnosed with coronavirus, understand that your family probably has it too, and that's not your fault. It's just that it's a virus, and what are you going to do? It's a 2-week incubation period at minimum, and they're going to get sick, and that's not on you. So at this point, you just got to try to ride this out. You're probably going to get sick. Don't freak out. Stress is not going to help you, and panic is not going to help you. If you didn't go out and buy your food, I would suggest, try getting out today. If the store looks crazy crowded and people are running around like maniacs full of stuff, just leave, come back. Maybe you want to go on Monday, on my birthday, when maybe you want to go probably between, the best times to go, I think, to the store during the week are between 10 and 11, before lunch, but after breakfast, and otherwise right around between 1 and 3, 2 o'clock being the sweet spot where people are either they've just eaten lunch and they're thinking about going back or going to the store, or they're making that call, am I going to go out this afternoon or am I going to stay in? So it could get a little wacky, but just keep washing your hands. And stay out of public places for a while, and try to stay home if you can. It's going to be okay. I promise you. Well, I guess I can't promise you, but I think optimistically this isn't the end of the world, and we'll all get through this, and then next couple months from now I'll be back to making videos about screenplays and South Jersey.